Well, we're back here in the basement coming at you with part 2 here on how to make a coon blanket. What we're going to be showing you in this video is how to block a coon, how to block the coon hide, sorry, and what you got to do and the stuff I use, just going over the whole process. I'll show you all the stuff I have to use to block the coons, what you have to do to prepare the hides to get ready to block them. As you can see in the last video, we already got all our hides cut out here and marked, and they're all opened up and they're ready to go. So that's the first step. Now the next step is getting them ready to actually staple them out on the table. So we're going to show you here what we're doing. I'm going to show you the few things I got here that I use to get these hides ready for the blocking process. It's pretty simple. All I got is a spray bottle here, a brush, a little bucket of water. Now my water, I like to use warm water when I do this and put it on the hides. I'm not sure if it makes a big difference, but for some reason I just feel better if I use nice hot water. I feel like it might make it stretch out a little bit more. Whether that's true, whether it makes a difference, I don't know, but that's what I like to do. And one other thing I forgot you're gonna need your coon hide out. Over here I got all my coon hides laid out. Then I'm gonna start blocking here and we're gonna show you the process now. The first thing we wanna do before we start stretching these coons out is we wanna rehydrate the hide. And what I'm doing to rehydrate the hide is pretty simple. I was getting my brush wet and I'm going down the center here and the sides and just getting everything nice slopping wet. Now I already got this one done, so I'm just showing you why we're doing this. So right here I got a coon hide that hasn't been stretched or anything. It's just been cut open as you seen in the last video, and that's all I've done with it. So this is the hide before I rehydrate it. Yeah, we got some stretch in there when I pull on there, but once I get it all hydrated and nice and wet and let that water soak into this hide, you can see how much more stretch I get here. I mean, you get a lot more out of that hide when you rehydrate it like this. So that's the reason we are rehydrating them before we start stapling out and blocking them up. Now I've only wetted this one down with the brush so far. What I like to do after I get it all brushed out and get it all nice slopping wet is I like to take my spray bottle here and just put another coat of water on there and get it real nice slopping wet and get a little standing water on there. Can never have enough water on these things. Well, once you get that all done, and sprayed and moisturized, I take this hide and I flip it over and I'll push it off to the side here and I'll let that soak in for the next 15-20 minutes. That way we get the most stretch out that we can. That way we get the most out of that hide. If we didn't rehydrate these hides, we wouldn't get much out of them at all. Yeah, you can stretch them a little bit, but you can't stretch them near as much as you can if you rehydrate them. If I just block this thing out like that, I would only get a little square out of there. Now rehydrating it, you block it out, you're going to stretch this thing all the way out here, which makes you be able to have a bigger square and a bigger pattern for what you're trying to make. In this case, we're making the blanket, so the more I stretch it out, the bigger my square can be. I'm going to keep moving on with the process here and get these things all hydrated, and once we get those all hydrated, we'll show you the next step. Now we're going to show you the process of actually laying those out on the table and stretching them out here. I only did 6 of them for the time being because that's how many my table will hold. And then after that, I'll probably put some on the boards. Not sure if I'll get to the boards today, but for the time being, we're just going to do 6 of them. Well, to start out, we're going to use the first hide that we rehydrated here. And we're going to lay it out on the center line and get it opened up. This thing's been sitting for about 15-20 minutes or so, and it should be all nice and pliable now to where we can go through and stretch it out and get the most out of that fur. What you're gonna need here is just a regular hand staple gun. That's what I use. Some people use electric staple gun, but I think this is a lot easier. So and it's a heck of a lot cheaper. So in the last video, I told you about why I have these lines and these staples here on this table, and this is where it makes it nice to have that. So right here, the back of the tails, that would be the center of my coon. So I can't see that staple whenever the coon hide's laying over it, but I can feel it. So I kind of want to feel around, find that staple, and find the center of that. Once I find the center of that, I'm going to put 2 staples there in the tail. And then I just grab it like this, stretch it out just a little bit. You don't have to get crazy with it. And put 2 more staples there towards the bottom. The reason I'm putting those staples in the bottom like that is because the next thing I'm going to do here is put my staple gun on the nose here and stretch it and follow that line and stretch it as far as I can. You don't want to get crazy with it, but you do want to stretch it out pretty far. And I'm going to put a couple staples up here as well. That way when I start stretching the rest out, the staples don't rip. Now that we got the head stapled up and the tail stapled down here and we got it stretched out as far as we can go that way, we're going to work our way around. One thing you really want to watch is make sure you got those ends stapled down good, because as you start pulling it, you don't want those staples to rip out. So what I do is, if you come up here on your hide, I like to start here on the edge and work my way around. So I'll start here and I'll put one, and I'll come over here and do the same thing. Now the center line, it's probably hard to tell on camera, but I can tell it's pulling that way. So now I can pull this side until that line's straight again, and then I know I'm good to staple it. And it'll keep stretching back and forth, and you just keep doing that and try to keep that line centered. Then you got these flabs here on the side. I like to go up to those next and pull them out. Do that on both sides. Try to keep that center line straight as much as I can here. And just keep working my way around like this. Now you can kind of see these flabs here that I've pulled over and stretched out first. Once I get that, I go back around and I get all this and pull it as tight as I can. And I start down here at the bottom first and just go all the way around and pull everything over. Now that I got this one all stapled up, you can kind of see what's going on here and why I have this line. You can tell those lines there are pretty straight, and that's how you want it to look. You want it to kind of all be center. And that one should be good to go. And then if you want to just double check it, you can take your print that you have here, which I'll show you guys that later, and you can just lay it on there and make sure it's going to fit. I got that stretched out plenty big for my print there, and that one's good to go. So now we're gonna keep tacking away at all the other ones here. took me a little bit here, but I got some of the coon hides blocked out. As you can see, I only could fit 6 of them on this table. They do take up a little bit of room once you get them all stretched out like that. And then I had some scrap pieces of wood laying around, and I got 4 of them over here as well. Now we just got to wait till these dry out. Usually I get as many as I can blocked out, and then I let them sit overnight, and by the next day they're all ready to rock and roll. When these get all dried out, we'll pick up the camera and we'll show you guys what we do from there. Well, we're back down here in the basement. I just got off work a little while ago, so I'm pretty dirty right now. But at any rate, all these coons have been sitting for a little while. They actually been sitting here a couple days because I got kind of busy with some other things, but they're all dried out. And I'm going to show you guys what I do from here. They all look good, nice and dry. But before I pull them up, I got this square here I cut out of cardboard. As you can see, it is 20 inches by 8 inches. And I just lay that on there like that. And I'm going to draw, well, I'm just going to trace that edge and get my square. I'm going to do that before I pull any of these off. You can do it after, but it's much easier just to trace it out now while they're all stretched out nice and laying flat. Another thing about these lines, when you put them in the hide, you know right there's your center mark. And right here on my cardboard, I got that centered up. So you can't always get it perfect, but you can roughly know where the center is like that. That way when you go to cut it out, your hide's nice and even with the colors. You don't want it too far to the right, then you get more gray hair up here. Rather than if you have it too far to the right, you won't have any gray hair here, but you'll have some over here. So it's nice just to keep it all squared up in the center. That way everything's symmetrical after you cut it out of there. But it's really simple. Literally all you do is get this centered up and trace it out. Now I like to have it a little bit lower to the bottom here, because like I said, you get up in this area, you start catching some of this side here, and you get some more gray hair from the belly fur, which that's fine. I really don't mind it a whole lot, because once you go to start sewing up your blanket, that brings more color to your blanket and just adds more character. So I actually don't mind having some gray hair in there. It makes the blanket look a little bit better in my opinion. But all we do is just trace this here. I just use an ink pen, nothing fancy. And you got a nice perfect square on there. I'm gonna go through and I'll do that to all these hides, and then I'm gonna start pulling these off the table here. This print I got here, I just wanted to show you guys. It's nothing special. I just came up with these measurements myself here, and I'll show you the reason I came up with this measurement. What's a good one to show you here? Up here, I'll show you this one. So as you can see on this hide here, I have plenty of hide here that where I could have went a little bit longer there, plus a little bit wider. If not, I could have went a little bit shorter towards about right here, and then went a little wider as well. Maybe only by, well, I could only went about an inch or two wider and longer. But the reason I made it this size is because we got some smaller coons. As you can see on this one, we've pretty much used up all the space on that one. So I just pretty much made a happy medium there, and that size there I can usually get to fit about all my coon hides here. Well, we're going to start pulling them up here, and what I do for that is pretty simple. I just get my screwdriver and I pry up on all these staples. I'm going to grab my screwdriver quick. So all I do is go up here on the staple and I just pop one end up like that. I don't actually pull them all the way out. And then, well, someone's calling me again. I'm gonna have to wait. So I just work around, get all those staples pulled up, and this just makes it a lot easier when you go take this hide off, and that way I don't rip nothing. You can just pull straight up on the hide and rip them all out, but you can risk ripping some of your hides. So this only takes a little bit to get those pried up like that. And then all I do is grab it by the tail here and pull up on it. That's simple. I'm gonna go through here now and get all these other ones pulled up. Now that I got all these pulled up, the next thing I do is begin cutting them. I'll bring a few of them over here and show you guys that process quick. Now when you're cutting these, you want to make sure you go as straight as you can on here. The reason that makes such a big difference is because when you're sewing these up, you want to have a nice straight seam. You don't want it back and forth, and you just want it nice and straight, because another reason is you start sewing them up and it's not so straight, and then your whole blanket's going to be crooked and it's not going to sew up worth a crap. Now everyone has their own ways to cut in these. Some people use, I think it's called a leather knife, and I looked it up and they're like $55. So I figured my deer hunting knife would work just fine for me. So that's what I'm using. It's razor sharp, that's all that matters. But I like to hold it right here with my big fat belly and start up here. And I like to start up above this line. Let me move this so you guys can see a little better. Start up here before I even have my lines. That way if I start in and I'm not so straight, I at least have a little time to correct myself. But you just do that and take your time and just follow that line straight down. Like I said, you want to cut with the hide facing up like this, the leather side up. That way you're not cutting a whole bunch of fur, and obviously so you can see your line. That may be the main reason right now. But you can see this thing's just razor sharp. It just glides right through there. Fold up a little more. If my mom seen me cutting towards myself like this right now, she'd probably have my butt. She probably wouldn't be very happy, but we're doing it. Well, I got this square all cut out here, and the next thing you want to do after you get these cut out is you want to brush these edges out nice, because once you cut this, you actually be cutting you will be cutting a little bit of fur, and you just want to brush that out of there and pull all that stuff you did cut. That way it's not getting in your seams, and that way when your blanket's done you don't have a whole bunch of hair all over the place. So whenever I get done cutting them, I like to leave it like this and brush them edges real good. Then I like to flip it back over and just brush the whole hide to get any loose hairs out of there. Like I said, that way when your blanket's all done, you don't have a whole bunch of loose hair floating all over the place and all over you when you're laying under it. So you can see the loose hair I got out of that, and most of that's just from the edge where I cut. So anytime you're cutting fur, you always want to make sure you brush over the edges you just cut to pull out any loose hair. Well, I got these 10 hides blocked out. I'm going to go through, cut the rest of them into perfect squares like this. You can see how it looks that way. And I'm gonna go ahead and start blocking the rest of the coon. I got 18 more to block, and I'll have to cut all those out. And once I get done with that, we'll pick the camera back up and we'll show you guys the sewing process. So stay tuned. If you like this video, let me know, leave a comment, maybe subscribe or something crazy, and just stay tuned for our next video. Thanks for watching.